side building is called the Omni La Mansion Hotel, but it was at one time a boarding school, opened up back in the 1800s, 1853, as St. Mary's School for Boys. When St. Mary's began to outgrow itself, becoming what is now St. Mary's School of Law, they moved the school over to the west part of our city. Sometime during the 60s, two alumni of St. Mary's, they bought this building, did some renovating, and opened it up as a hotel in 1968. Today it's now owned by the Omni company. It's called the Omni La Mansion. Now coming up, we have a lot more restaurants, bars, and shops coming up. But if you want to see something pretty cool, as soon as we come out from underneath this bridge, if you guys look up high to the left of our boat at this building, as you come out, you're going to see that it is an optical illusion of a freestanding wall. Look up high to our left right now. Pretty cool, right? It looks like a flat building. This is the next building. It was once the next hospital, the first fully functional hospital in the nation. Offered everything from major surgery to a band-aid, all in one spot. Comedian Carol Burnett was also born right in here. And sadly, at the end of 2019, they did close down the hospital, and there's talks of turning this building into another apartment or hotel down here. Now I'm going to kind of slow. Right now we're about to approach all the restaurants. To the right of our boat, we have County Line Barbecue, Hard Rock Cafe, Paisanos, Italian Dining right underneath the Ben & Jerry's. So up there on the balcony, you'll find Howl at the Moon. There's usually a few bars up there that have live music, especially during the weekend. To the left of our boat, some seafood restaurant. Bubblegum is back there. Joe's Crab Shack. Landry's is up ahead. Landry's Seafood. As we come around the river bend, straight ahead of us, we have another hotel on the river. This one coming up to the left of our boat is called the Hyatt Regency. If you guys find yourself on this part of the river during your stay, you can actually just follow through these double doors right here on our left side. You can see above the doors it says Passage to the Alamo. Those doors will take you through an atrium filled with waterfalls, fountains. There's a beer garden back there, and it takes you directly to our Alamo Plaza. If you've seen the horse carriages, or if you're interested in the double-decker tour buses that go around the city, they all start in front of the Alamo as well. Street intersection. The sculpture is called the Torch of Friendship. It was done by a Mexican artist named Sebastian, and the structure was given to our city by Mexico back in the year 2002. It symbolizes friendship between Mexico and the United States. So one of the many questions we get asked out here is this a natural river or is it man-made? The answer to that question is that it's both. Right now we're heading out of the man-made extension. This extension we're in is the only man-made part of the river, so there's a concrete bottom to this part. As we're passing underneath this bridge, we'll technically be entering the natural flow of the river. We're going to be following this boat right here, make a left, and eventually doing one big loop and coming back in here later on. This part of the river is also about 3-4 feet deep. As we are within the floodgates, the water level here is being controlled. Now coming up on our right-hand side, we have another one of our tour locations. They're all the same except this one starts here. Across from the river, you can see a little green sign on the left side. This is Dirty Nelly's Irish Pub. It's pretty popular piano bar right there. It gets really popular on the weekends. Now Dirty Nelly's right here on our left is housed inside of this big building. As you come out underneath this bridge, if you look up high, you can see how massive this hotel is. This is the Hilton Palacio Del Rio, or the Palace on the River. Now, a pretty cool thing about this building is that it's in the Guinness Book of World Records. This entire building was done in only 202 working days. It was a modular prefabricated concrete project. Now how they finished this building so quickly was they built the first half right here on site, and at the same time they were building the second half just a few miles away over on the HB Zachary headquarters. Every room of this hotel was brought over here already fully furnished with beds, lampposts up to the Bibles in the desk. They brought over all the rooms on flatbed trucks and placed them on top just like Lego blocks. The entire process was done in 202 working days, which put it into the Guinness Book of World Records. The hotel opened up just 5 days before the World's Fair in 1968. Now here to my left side is La Villita. Started out as housing for Spanish colonial soldiers during the early 1700s. Many of those buildings were once houses and homes for many of the French and the German settlers that came through here back in the 1800s. You'll find a lot of German and French influence in our city as a result of that, especially in the food and the music. Now right here, this is the Arneson River Theatre. To the left of our boat is seating for about 800 people. And to the right, we have our stage. You can see they're setting up for an event. If you guys have seen the movie Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock, they shot the bikini scene of that movie right here on the stage. If it looks a little bit familiar to you. And above the stage are 5 bells, which represent the 5 missions that are also found here in our city. The center bell up there is inscribed with the words, in honor of Robert H.H. Hugman. Robert Hugman is known as the father of the Riverwalk. He's an architect who designed everything you see down here almost 100 years ago. I'll tell you guys a lot more about Robert Hugman as we go along our journey. You will definitely hear his name mentioned many, many times. Now coming up to the right of our boat, you're going to see a big bronze sculpture of a cowboy with a cattle. They unveiled this sculpture here back in 2013 for the grand opening of the Bristol Western Art Museum right up those stairs. The Bristol Western Art Museum is open to the public. It was named after late Texas Governor Don Briscoe. Inside you'll find many interactive exhibits, a lot of Western artifacts as well. They're popular for having Pancho Villa's last known saddle. Before this was a museum, it was once the San Antonio Public Library into the late 1960s. You see down here, we like to preserve our buildings instead of destroying them. Oh, we have so much history. And please no standing up as we pass underneath this iron bridge. You do not want to hit your head on it, trust me. Alright, now coming up to the right of our boat, there's another iron sculpture that sits on this small island. Here we have Father Massenet's table, placed here in 1991. This commemorates the first Catholic Mass held on the river by Father Damien Massenet from June 13th, 1691. If you look closely, you can see that the island is made up of this cypress tree's roots, and it kind of makes the shape of a heart. This island is popularly known as Marriage Island, and a wedding takes place right here nearly every single day. Marriage Island hosts over 300 weddings in this spot per year, many proposals as well. If you're looking for more information on Marriage Island, you can search Hotel Contessa. That hotel right there is where all the weddings are booked through. Now this part of the river is a lot quieter compared to the part that we'll be getting to in about 10 minutes or so. It's a more popular area for people to come take their graduation pictures, wedding photos, and things like that because of all the wildlife over here. But during the 1800s, this part of the river, it was popular for a whole other reason. Back in the day, the water level up ahead was very shallow. They were able to cross their wagons back and forth with ease, made it very convenient for them to get around, to clean their buggies and things like that. So it made it a really popular destination. Alright, so earlier in our tour, I pointed out this tower here on my left side. This is the Tower Life building. It's the only octagonal shaped high-rise left in the United States, built in the late 1920s by the Smith-Young Company, which were two brothers by the name of Smith-Young. Now the brothers were actually very superstitious. When they were building this building, they used a type of architecture called Neo-Gothic. If you look way up there, you can spot the gargoyles sitting around the sides. During heavy rains, they'll shoot out water from their mouths. Sometimes falls right into the river. It's pretty cool. And as we get a little bit closer to the building, right here above the first floor, along the window trim, you will also see a set of ugly faces. that go all the way across the building up to the end. These grotesque and the guard